Well, hello, everybody. I'm Cheryl Casoni. Welcome to Cashin In. Our Cashin In crew this week, we have Wayne Rogers, Jonathan Honig, Tracy Burns, John Layfield. Also joining us this week from the Economic Policy Institute, our good friend, our buddy, Christian Dorsey, is with us this week. So welcome to all of you. And Jonathan, I want to start with you. You say when we redistribute wealth, we all lose money. How so?
Well, I mean, look at the statistics, Cheryl. What is the president's redistribution wrought? Median income down in 49 of the 50 states. Unemployment up. Food stamps up. A stagnant economy. Why does redistribution fail? Because it's evil. And in advocating it, and I don't think the president's philosophy has changed since 1998, in advocating it, the president's basically saying he has the right to treat you like chum, to treat you like a means to the end. Why? Because all wealth is public, and he can send it off to Solyndra, to deadbeat homeowners, to the unions, whoever he sees fit.
It fell or it stayed the same in about 49 states. And, you know, actually, Wayne, as well, U.S. incomes fell more than 4% over the last, really just in the last couple of years as we've had all these new programs come into place. Or are we maybe going in the wrong direction here?
Well, it's something more insidious than that, I think, and that is the fact that somehow it's written that the government has the right to coerce me to take my money and deliver it to some auto worker in Ohio. If I want to make a donation, why shouldn't I have the choice to do that, to make that donation to this guy? Why is the government the one who's appointed to take my money and give it to this person? It lessens competition and it destroys the economy.
You know, Christian, it's an economic conversation that we've had before with you, actually. And it's, you know, if you're taking away money from the top tier earners, they're not reinvesting in the economy. They're not hiring new workers. They're kind of staying stagnant. Do you buy that argument at this point? I know you didn't 2 years ago, but do you buy it now?
No, I don't buy it now, Cheryl. You know, incomes have been falling for over a decade. So we're talking about not a recent problem, but a decade-long problem that seriously needs policy intervention. And this whole idea that we redistribute only from the wealthy to people who are lower income is a complete fallacy, which we ought to stop now. The direct spending that you all decry so much amounts to a certain level of federal spending, but equally important are the tax expenditures that we forego by mostly giving money to people who are wealthy and to corporations. Just because spending, you don't see that on the balance sheet doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Wrong, right?
And it's critically important.
Okay, so Christian's not wrong. It's not just the rich that have to redistribute. It's the middle class as well, because the middle class is making about $50,000 a year. That is the exact same amount of money they were making in the mid-90s. And yet everything we purchase has gone up. From the silly little dance classes that I pay so often to a gallon of milk, that has all gone up, and yet none of our wages have. Why? Because you're redistributing the middle class as well. It's not fair. It is not making this economy grow. And just because it's a 10-year-old problem doesn't mean we keep doing it. It has to be fixed.
John Layfield, but, you know, if we're looking at the next 4 years of President Obama, for instance, we are going to have more of the same. I mean, we are going to have programs that basically do want to redistribute wealth and tax the wealthy 1%. I mean, he said that.
Yeah, we are going to have more of the same, especially the last 2 years, which has just been a futile Congress and a futile administration because these guys just can't get along. And Christian, you're my friend, but you can't lump us all together in a you-all statement about what we all believe. We're 5 different people. And I see your point, Christian, about the fact of redistribution. Look, redistribution goes the other way as well. And you're right, Christian. For the last decade and maybe more, we have killed the middle class. Look at what we've done for the rich. We have lowered interest rates with the Fed policy. All that does is help the wealthy are people who can get credit. Poor can't get credit anyway. Look at the tax code. Look at the corporate tax code. It all favors the big companies who can buy off politicians. That is one of the reasons why the middle class is being squeezed, because the redistribution is also going to the wealthy.
Jonathan,
And of that, we agree.
Think about what you're advocating when you're advocating redistribution. You're advocating your ownership of someone else's life. You're saying, no, you don't own your life. You don't own the product of your labor. I know what's best for it. I know what to do with it. And it doesn't matter if it goes to the middle class, the lower class, the solar class, the green class, or anyone else. I mean, it's this whole we're all in it together philosophy that has destroyed every economy. And it is the philosophy of socialism.
Jonathan, I agree with you about redistribution. I don't like it at all going either direction. But that's where the reason we have the middle class being squeezed, because for decades we've had politicians being bought off by the rich and by the corporations. It's killing medium-sized businesses.
No.
And hold on, Jonathan, hold on. But those are the job creators that we're talking about. And I do want to bring Christian back in. I didn't let Christian respond to John Layfield, and I apologize to you, Christian. I mean, if you look at the unemployment rate over the last couple of years, it has risen. I mean, that's the data that we're looking at. You don't think that it's a fair argument? You don't think it's a fair argument to say, because we have been going after the wealthy, punishing the wealthy, that they're the ones that are pulling back on spending, pulling back on hiring?
But see, Cheryl, you know, the Great Recession was called the Great Recession for a reason. It was a pretty big deal. And since then, we have not seen any adverse policies affecting the income of wealthy people. President Obama would like some, but it hasn't happened yet. So to describe redistribution in any way, shape, or form as a cause for our current malaise is just not accurate. And this whole idea that redistribution is actually taking something without giving any value to the economy is completely wrong. Many of the reasons that we have so many of the programs that we have are to provide an ability for people to participate in the economy.
But Wayne Rogers, I think my point as well was that there's a fear there. I mean, you hear many small business owners coming on the Business Network, the news channel, saying, I'm afraid to hire. I don't want to hire. I don't know what my taxes are going to be, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's kind of my point here, Wayne.
Well, it may be, but I'm saying something even more fundamental here. I'm saying that we are being violated by saying that somebody has the right to come in, reach his hand in my pocket, take my money, and give it to some guy over here against my will. I worked hard for this money. Therefore, why does he have the right to come over, a government, and take my money and give it to this guy? I'm not an auto worker. I didn't benefit from that. The country didn't necessarily benefit from that, just this guy.
Yeah.
So every time the president, let me finish, please. Every time the president talks about General Motors and those people, he never talks about Ford, who never took any money and who's run very well.
You're both right.
But Cheryl,
you're both right.
But it all comes back to John Layfield's point from the start of the show. Who is anyone in the government to decide what I want to do with my hard-earned dollars? It's my belief to give it to whomever I want. I don't want this one little silly government who can't figure out how to get to the bathroom to determine who's going to get the money that I work really hard for. That's the problem
here. And guys, if you want any facts, look at our corporate tax code. Look at Amazon, Yahoo, Google. Look at what they pay in a corporate tax rate. There may be political rhetoric that they're going after the rich. They're not going after the rich, guys. They're taking money from the rich. They're paying a high teen rate, high teens. A small business in America pays 35%, and the reason is because they don't have the money to buy all politicians. They may have empty rhetoric about we're going to go after the rich. They're not doing it. They're taking their campaign money from them.
We all love Jonathan, I got to run. You got 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, before you redistribute the wealth, you actually have to create it. And that's what wealthy individuals do. They're the ones, and the economy as a whole is hurt most by the president's policies.
Okay, guys, great discussion. So coming up.
We're sick, so we're